Okay, welcome back, everyone. We have another guest here to talk about their interests and hobbies and what they like to get into and things they like to make and other activities and events they are associated with. So welcome. How are you?
I'm good, Andrew. How's everyone there? Hope
Yeah, we're all
you're
we're
doing
all going
well.
well. Yeah, we're all going well. So let's let you start the story. So who are you? What do you like to do? And tell me a little bit about what you're wearing and everything else that's in behind you.
Will do. I'm Acacia. I'm a LARPer, which stands for live action role player. Um, as you can see, I've got a variety of things that I've either made or had commissioned or made myself or even bought behind me. I'm like a living history enthusiast. I love reenactment. I love going and sword fighting and doing all these types of things ever since I was little. So as you can see around me, I've got a collection of things. This one up, there it is. This one up there is like a LARP butcher's knife. It's all made out of foam. As we can see here, it's actually really bendable. So it doesn't actually hurt when you get hit by it. But in case you do get hit hard, things like armor, which I'll just show my screen this way because it's a bit heavy, this armor. You can make that to protect yourself. And I've made that by hand, and that took me about 6 to 8 months to make, to shape. So what I've just shown you there is lamella armor made out of, please don't, bark on me for this, but it's aluminum or aluminium, whichever way you say it, it's still going to protect you regardless of who makes fun of your words. So if they do, just hit them back with one of the variety of swords or axes I've got behind me. So here's one. Here's my favorite. It's got nice motifs in it. Every, I guess, LARP weapon here I've purchased has come from a local shop called Of Science and Swords down in Melbourne, down in Oakley, actually, with the exception of this beautiful 2-meter pike here, which the head came from the shop of Of Science and Swords, and then I made it with the help of my partner, who is into blacksmithing, leatherworking, and all that stuff.
Wow.
I guess I could take a breath, but I could show you numerous other things I've got here as well. For instance, if you don't want to fight in my LARP group of Swordcraft, which is based down in Melbourne, but we've got branches all across Victoria, actually all across Australia now that I think of it. We've grown quite massively. So the main one is in Melbourne. I'm going to the one in Traralgon, which is the Gippsland branch. We've got one in Bendigo. We've got some in Geelong. We've got some in South Australia, Brisbane, Queensland, and there's a couple of different LARPs that aren't associated with Swordcraft, but are around Australia as well. Like I said, if you didn't want to get into the combat and you just wanted to heal, here's an example of a healing book I've made based out of a folder that I got from Officeworks, so I could claim it on tax. But this has all my spells in it to protect all those people who are dying, coughing up from the plague, anything you can imagine. It's happened, and it's happened more than once. Just like one of our magisters, who is the head mage here, has blown himself up and required assistance getting back together. Sorry, I had to laugh at that because it doesn't matter what he does. If anybody knows Warhammer Fantasy lore, this is what the Swordcraft world is based off of. And he's the Red Magister, so he's the Aquishi? Anyway, he's the Fire Mage. So he's really hot-tempered, can make a nice cup of tea, but also explodes at random times. And there's been a lot of chaos in Skaven, and the Mages Guild has been blown up a couple of times. So we'll see, we'll get there. One of the things I am very interested in showing you guys is Scale Mail, which is, as you can see, just to the right of me here. This is a costume I'm currently working on. So it's actually quite nice and shiny. You can't quite see the purple and blues because of the camera, but it's on a backing of leather. That is a current project where I'm going to transform myself into a lizardman. So I get to run around and growl at people and scratch them. Andrew, did you have any questions?
Yeah, I was going to say, what made you get into LARP?
I wanted to be a history teacher, and then I wanted to act it out.
Yeah.
So I can act everything out now. It's great. So I was really into sword fighting from a young age. I was really into history and making things, really wanted to be a Viking when I was little. And then I realized I wanted to be a Roman. And then I realized, hang on a second, I can be anything I want at any given time in any period of history. Why not make something from all periods of history?
Yeah.
And I did. And I've been trying to. One of the other things, as you can see there with this little dragon here, is a Japanese inspired robe with, I've just altered it. So I've got some nice colors there. So it's got a nice standing collar. I guess the other thing that really got me into LARP was wanting to express myself, wanting to express my creative ability. And one of the first, I guess, things that I made that, you know, everyone was like, oh, where's sunscreen, where's sunscreen? And I kept forgetting to wear sunscreen. So I decided to make this hat up here. Now it's just on the hook. Hold on. There we go. Decided to make this hat here, and had no idea how to make a hat like this. So I got a straw hat from Bunnings, ripped that apart, took it in 2 pieces, and made what you see before you now.
So how long?
And I've got little awning cap in there.
So how long have you been into like the main kind of, you know, communities, actually kind of going to all the meets and events? How long have you been kind of really into it?
Really into it. Over 6 years, maybe. I think we're getting close to 8 years. But yeah, I've been into it non-stop since I moved up to Traralgon a couple of years ago. I was really big into it when I lived closer and played in Melbourne, where there's 500 people, by the way, and you all get to hit them by swords. But the fact is, the community, doesn't matter where you are in Australia or in Victoria even, the community is a place where you can make friends and learn to be inspired by other people's craftsmanship, which brings me to what I'm wearing just here. So this here was made by a friend of mine. She does a workshop called Et's Workshop, and she's a quilter, so she makes gambesons. She's done this cape for me. One of the baller things about this cape is that it's reversible. So depending on the character I want to play, I can be a nice wizard or a peasant, and I can just hide around in the background. Or if I want it to be really colorful, I can turn the whole thing inside out. And let's just show you what that is. Turn the whole thing inside out and show the different colors of like a magician character or whatever you want to be.
So with
do you want me to talk?
yeah. So for people who are like, this is probably their first ever time actually kind of hearing about this type of activity. When it comes to your events, now is it a mixture of both reenactments of major points in history and also fantasy elements, or is it one more than the other?
So this is where I guess LARP and a thing called HEMA split off from each other. So I'm more involved in the LARP world, but the HEMA world's really over here. So that stands for Historical European Martial Arts. They do the more reenactment. They do blunted steel with 16 gauge steel armor. So they're more of the reenactment. And I can get you some information later. But what I'm involved in, and like I said, they do the period reenactments of major points in history. There's a lot of different groups all around Victoria that do that. Whereas on the LARP side, which is what I'm a part of, we do a lot more fantasy stuff. So it is a lot more role play, and our events. So like I said before, I'm part of a group called Swordcraft. The main chapter, or the beginning chapter, so we speak, is down in Melbourne, near where the zoo is, so down in Parkville. They run once a week on a Friday from 6 p.m. all the way to 10 p.m. And there's, before COVID, obviously, before there were restrictions, there was about 400 or 500 people playing once a week for those 3-4 hours. Variety of different war bands. So again, if you know anything about the Warhammer Fantasy figurines or D&D tabletops, anything you can imagine, it's there.
Okay.
Yes.
So now, with a LARP activity, what would you call it? Would you call it an event, a battle? What's the, getting into the lingo of like when you have a meetup and there's going to be an activity up? What is the lingo with what it's called?
Yep. So generally, it's called a battle game on a Friday. Well, depending on whichever chapter runs it, it is a battle game. So that just means we go to a field. So say my field up here in Traralgon, we will play for 3 hours. It's a battle game. There's about 4 different scenarios and 2 different teams, okay? So imagine this. Imagine 50 people, different types of armor, different types of weapons, different types of clothing. Mine's more based on German Renaissance, and my warband is the 1st Regiment, and we play as the Town Guard. We've gone up against, say, Chaos, so those demonic creatures, okay? At one point, there's been games such as Total Annihilation, where one side needs to completely wipe out the other, and then it's bragging rights. There's also points, but everyone wants the bragging rights. There's also things like capture the flag, capture 3 points. So you need to kind of like last man standing and last team standing. So you need to go point A, B, and C, see how long you can hold that for, and you accumulate points based on who holds what for the most period of time. There's also things like escorting VIPs, so very important peoples, which you aren't told about the first time. You need to go figure out who they are. Sometimes with these VIPs, you need to escort the enemy VIP back to your side and then you win. Or sometimes it's, there's the VIP, go and shoot them with everything you've got. So that's just an example of some of our games. We also have obstacles as well in our local games. We also do a week-long event called Quest. We've done that previously down in Lardner Park. Now, the Quest weekend, which can be anywhere from 3 days if it's a local event run by a chapter, or run by the main Melbourne base, which therefore it is run for a week. They have separate storylines. So if it's a small 3-day game, it's generally based on, say, the Ballarat population or the local in-game character quest. Like, say, someone from your town wants to be a mage, so they go to wizard school and they learn all the spells to be a good mage. If it's the week-long event, however, it's total war. It can be total chaos. There are things that will go bump in the middle of the night, sometimes on purpose, sometimes on accident because they've tripped over a tent peg, but mostly on purpose. We've got things like orcs running around. We've got werewolves running around. We've got Skaven running around on those week-long events. There's partying and drinking, you know, all the good juices, and apple juice and orange juice. But during the day, during the height of the sun on those week-long events, what people need to know, what people need to understand is that there are things like fortress battles. Everything you can think of in a Total War game, we've played it. So there's things like, go storm the enemy's castle. Don't trip up the ledge, but make sure you go storm the castle and, you know, save the princess or save the merchant prince. Or if you really want something really tricky, really devious, You hide treasure in the form of a cart, and you've got laundry on top of that cart, and you take it from point A to point B without anybody trying to notice what you've got in there. There's a lot of, has anybody played Fallout or some of those role-playing games, Fallout, Skyrim, Elder Scrolls, anything like that? You do need to be good at persuading people. There's been a couple of times as well when people have wanted to play thieves. Just a heads up, you actually need to know how to pickpocket and reverse pickpocket somebody. They do teach you that, but these are all in-game items, not anybody's personal items as well. So that's just some of the lingo. I know I've gone off on a huge tangent, but it's just, whenever you get me talking about this, it's just an explosion of information because everything is interesting.
Now with battles and stuff, how's that worked out? Is it like are you rolling dice to say, okay, yep, you're injured, whatever it is, or is it armed combat? Do you have umpires or referees there as well? How is that kind of adjudicated? How is that kind of worked out?
Yep. So if you've got no armor, so basically if you're just wearing basic blacks, if you don't have anything yet, that's fine. Or if you're wearing a costume like what I've got on here, you start with a base hit point of, 2 hit points. If you get hit in a limb, so that's an arm or a leg, you lose 1 hit point. So basically you're playing math, the video game. If you get hit in the torso, front or back, that's 3 points of damage. So if you're like me right now, you're not wearing any armor, you get hit in the chest, you're kind of dead. There's also no hit zones as well. So to make sure the sport is safe, nobody's allowed to hit in the head, above the wrists, or the feet or groin area, and for women or those who identify as women, in the chest area. Once you do have armor though, there's a whole rule book on armor. If you've got leather armor, if you've got plate mail, if you've got scale, if you've got brigandine, if you've got lamella, which I've just shown you before. So by the way, that's an example of the scale. And then that there is an example of the lamella. You all get different hit points based on the armor you wear. And there's a reason there's a rule book, because we can't always remember this. There's 50 different types of armor, and that number is not off the top of my head. It's not a random number. It is the amount of armor types that we have. Hold on. There's also different armor zones. Like if you're just wearing a torso, for instance, that lamella, you get an additional 3 hit points. If you're wearing a helmet, if it's a leather one, that's 1 additional hit point. If it's steel, just covering the face there, it's 2 hit points. If you think of a knight's plated helm, that's an additional 3 hit points. You add all of these up, there is a maximum you can have. I believe it's either 12 or 15. I've been around so long in Swordcraft and LARP that the max number of hit points has changed from 12 to 15 to 10 to, I think it's back at 12. It may be 15 now. I'm not entirely sure. It does get a little bit confusing when you're an old hand at this kind of thing. But everybody in the community is willing to help you out with that. In terms of how the game is run, we do have people called marshals, which in a sense would be our umpires. They blow a whistle, they start the game, they stop the game. If there is a code red, so say somebody's accidentally been hit in the face, they will stop the game, make sure that person is okay. If they need to go to first aid, they will take them to first aid. Once they are safe, it's a countdown of 3, 2, 1, game on. The game is back on. There is also, in terms of not just the marshal, who again was our umpire, we have a first aider. Depending on how big the player population is, you will have more than 1 marshal. So games like in Melbourne have about 4 marshals because the field is so big and there's about 500 players. Smaller games like my local chapter here in Traralgon have 1 marshal because we only have just over 50 players. So that's enough for the marshal to see everything that's going on and blow the whistle when necessary. There's also timers for when the round is supposed to end. When that timer goes, you have whatever points you've accumulated, and then a new game type may start. I'm just trying to think. Is there anything else I missed from your question?
I'm still kind of working out with the with the hit. You got the hit points. Is it the individual to say they've been hit like 5 times or to say 12 times? Is it the individual basically goes, right, well, yeah, I'm out, or is there someone else kind of watching it and going, hang on, no, you're out? Like, I'm just looking at like how if you had someone who was like, you see this with, other things similar to things of what you're talking about with rule wise, where someone's been hit and they've like ducked behind a tree and they're like, no, they're finished, they're taken out, and they're not in the what are they called, the theme of the sport, but they're not kind of playing along with the whole idea. That's what I'm kind of getting at here.
Okay. Yes. So say in this case, I've got 5 hit points. I don't have a shield, don't have anything like that. Just have a, I don't know, say the pike behind me. I get shot 3 times in the chest. First time I get 3 damage. Second time I get 3 damage. I'm already dead, but sometimes you get shot just in case they don't think you're dead. So you're extra dead. You then have to, when it's safe, if you can at that time, kneel down. If it's a pike, put the pike straight up. If it's a sword, put the sword on your lap or on your head, and then you are counted as dead. If, however, you die and the 2 sides are coming in, coming out, they're just generally pushing, it's then well desired, well respected that the dead players move out of the way, whether that's into, say, a non like water, or there's cones that designate certain areas of the playing field. So if it's blue cones, water, if you're dead and you don't want to get squished, you go in the water so you don't get hurt or hurt anybody else. And in terms of the hit points, I've got those 5 hit points. I'm responsible of counting my hits. If I don't, and the marshal sees, I will get told off by the marshal and then get what's called a yellow card as a warning. If it happens a couple more times, then I get a red card, which means I can no longer play in that game, and then I have to do what's called new player training again after a certain amount of time when I'm allowed back on the field. So you don't just add on to that, so you don't just go in willy-nilly. You're not just like, here's some fresh meat, go for it, here's a sword. They actually, Swordcraft and other LARPs will actually teach you how to safely use a sword or any weapon of your choice. So as an example here, just this sword here, you can hit to certain parts of the body. When you do this new player training, it's generally for half an hour where new players are taken aside, and at least down in Melbourne, just playing with the other new players, getting the kinks out, making sure, they don't actually hit themselves in the face, which, by the way, happened when I was a new player and it hurt, so don't do that. Then the new players join the rest of the field. Generally, the experienced players will be nice to the new players, go easy on them. There's a whole movement of don't be a dick to the new players, so they can just learn and have fun and figure out if they want to come back. But
yep. How about being in character? Now, are people in character like throughout like a whole scenario? Like they stay in character? Like, is it? I can kind of assume that if you're doing this, that everyone is acting in character to kind of help with the game, because you probably wouldn't want people kind of breaking character and kind of talking about something else or doing whatever. Are people just staying in character for during a scenario?
That actually depends on the warband. It depends on, like, I guess 2 or 3 different types of things. One, it depends on the individual person of how they're feeling that day. 2, it depends on if their warband, so their little group of people that they fight with, some are little, some are like 40 players. Just want to shout out to the North in Melbourne. You're ridiculous and put shirts on. Anyway, and also what type of event it is. If it's a day game, so we do the 1 day a week, or if we do our week-long event called Quest. If it is a special event at a day game, however, people generally are in character. So for instance, I'll tell you a little bit about my character. Her name is Sammy Goodheart. She came to Braylon, which is my current chapter's hometown, I guess you would say, port of call. She came as a healer. And if you know anything about fantasy, Warhammer fantasy lore, she's moving away from the northern regions, going down past the Empire into the Border Princes area. Anyway, so when I'm in character, if I'm in my camp, say at Quest, I go, I am not in character until after I've had my coffee and my breakfast. After that, I am in my character. Once I step out of my camp, I am in character 24/7. With the day games, again, say the day game runs for 5 hours. Generally, people will be in character for 5 hours unless they do what's called a moose sign, which is this, like I'm out of character. I'm actually Acacia. I'm not Sammy. Can I talk to you about real world things? Sometimes it's to discuss issues such as character bleeding, which is, I guess, you invest too much into your character and you have a hard time coming back to who you are in the real world, which does happen.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I kind of assumed that would be it, because it'd be I kind of that when you see, even when I think about people playing Dungeons and Dragons, or even when I was much younger, when I was introduced to Dungeons and Dragons, you would get certain characters or even dungeon masters who would like go for the fun of it, and go, oh, I'm going to act in character, but it's just adding to the imagination of what's going on. So yeah, it was very fascinating to actually hear how people kind of are, and how involved you kind of get into it. Now, upkeep of all your gear and stuff, how is that a big process? Is that a lot, especially after Quest or something?
Yes. So especially after the week-long events, everything's muddy, it stinks. It's you can't smell yourself for a while because you're muddy so much. There is showers. Some people choose to not shower because either they want to be authentic, or authentic, which just means they're too lazy. But yes, there is upkeep. So with a lot of the leather goods that I have, like shoes, or even some of the weapons behind me, anything that's leather, I wipe down. I learned that the hard way when one of my leather bags fell apart completely at one event, or after one event, because it rained so much, it just deteriorated. So oil in your leather is very important. When it comes to, let me just use this sword as an example. So this is one of the swords I've used in the past. I'm not sure how well you can see on the camera, but there is a little bit of wear and tear on that. It is from memory, it's an epic armory sword. So they have a very nice shiny coating, which does rub off. So you need to use latex spray to make sure the foam doesn't get a thing called foam rot and eat itself, from the inside out. I have another sword here, which has been my longest sword since I started. Yep, you can already tell. So there's a little bit of damage here with the handle. Even on the blade. This is what over 6 years of LARP will do to a LARP weapon. So this one here is what happens to your weapons if you don't take care of them and forget to silicone spray them. They turn out like this. There's also chunks missing because of people's armor and all that stuff. When it comes to, I guess, the normal clothes, like the shirt I'm wearing now. This is all made by, I believe, a German company called Mythalon. So this is linen and cotton, not modern material. So nothing, what's it called? Nothing polyester. So it's all natural materials. So you've got to put that on a delicate wash in your washing machine. Make sure all your reenactment clothing that's of the same color goes in that same load. Otherwise, you're going to have an issue and you're going to end up with pink pants, which some of my Warband members found out from a different company before we bought these Mythalon ones, which are of higher quality. So yeah, just in terms of just taking your gear, you need to air it out. You need to wash it if you can wash it. If, for instance, you have, say, something like this, which is something I prepared earlier. This is a part of a scale gorget. French is not my first language, guys. What you can do if you've got something like this, so for instance, if the fabric gets way too damp, you can unstitch where the scales are attached, put the fabric stuff in the wash, and then stitch the scales back on. Don't put anything metal in the washing machine, just like I suggest you don't put anything metal in the microwave.
So now this is one thing, it's just kind of an observation, but like you're wearing glasses.
Yes.
Now, are you allowed to wear those glasses in these scenarios?
Yes, you are. Because so wearing glasses, people, depending on their character. So if they are wearing a mask, that obviously can't fit over their glasses, or they can take their glasses off and be blind. I've got a friend who plays two goblins stacked on top of each other. He does wear glasses, but because he's a goblin, he squints, so he's more in character. Okay. There are people who do have corrective contact lenses, but there are also some people who aren't blind and are lucky, and they can wear the color contacts and look like demons. But yes, generally anybody who has glasses is fine to wear them. There are even some instances where people are allowed to wear sunglasses for medical reasons. So if you've got a medical reason, or if you're just blind like I am, you're allowed to wear glasses or sunglasses. But there's, just touching on that, not just in terms of wearing glasses, people also wear eye protection, not in the form of helmets, just in the form of face masks and other padding. But because Swordcraft is such a large community, we have a range of people from all types and all places and all identities and all abilities as well. Whatever you can do, there's a couple of pirates that I know of. One walks with a walking stick. There are a couple of people who, for whatever reason, can't run, so they put that into their character. They make that a part of their character's personality. So again, like my friend who's blind and is two goblins stacked on top of each other, he will squint and shout at you in a really high voice and just really annoy you. Yeah. Because that's the personality he wants to portray. Okay. My character, she's a mage, she's a wizard, she's a bookworm. So what I'll do is generally, I'll be sitting in the library, in the tent, anywhere, writing something down in my book of spells, like this, and then someone's going to call my name and I'm going to look at them. I'm going to give them the librarian look and go, "Excuse me, you need my attention for what? How important is it? Are we getting paid?" That is just an example of how I play my character with what I have available on me.
Now, when you have the big quest days, like the quests where it's a day or 3 days, or you were saying a week, what sort of food is there? Is it just modern food, or is it mixed in with the scenario? So it's everything's being cooked in some sort of old-fashioned sort of way, or something that's kind of linked in with the actual scenario.
Yeah. That all depends on the warband you're with and how much money they have to invest in a communal pot.
Yeah.
Sorry, a cauldron. So there are some reenactors that do come. They're the ones most likely to have a cauldron, have a cooking pot, have the whole shebang that you see in any type of medieval movie. My warband and a couple of the people who aren't as rich as those guys will go, we're making Vegemite and cheese sandwiches, or whose turn is it to run down to the shops and get Subway? Or sometimes people will bring in, there's another warband I'm with down in Melbourne, the Crimson Hand. They do communal dinners with everybody. So everybody puts in a little bit of money, and any intolerances are, so there's gluten, there's celiac, there's all this stuff the Crimson Hand prepare for. They take all that into consideration and cook. So sometimes warbands will do a buffet style set where it's just cold meats and cheeses for the week. If you're lactose intolerant like me, you're not going to eat the cheese. There are other warbands that say, you bring your food, you cook for you, we're not going to take charge for you. And then, like I said, there are others who wants to cook tonight, and everybody helps and chips in. So there's a range of skills that everybody has. I'm not essentially the best cook in my warband, so we have a designated cook to help us, and we all wash our dishes and do other tasks for him while he's cooking for us.
Yeah. Now, I'm kind of really fascinated by this, but the now with the same sort of places, when it comes to night or sleeping and stuff, like, are you in modern tents, or is it like a mixture, like you were saying with the foods? Some people have got modern tents, others have just got like a canvas tarp, or they're sleeping out under the stars, or is it like that as well?
It is. So it's like with anything in LARP, depending on how much money you are willing to spend and how much money you're willing to invest in something, you have a range of people, and that's never looked down upon. If it is, you don't talk to that person. But personally, I saved up just enough money last year during COVID to get myself a bell tent. So it was supposed to be red, but as red versus blue puts it, it's pink. No, it's lightish red. So I've got a lightish red bell tent. Thank you very much, everybody. But there are other people who have like a white bell tent. Some have a red and black one. So there's stores you can get, tents you can get from online stores, and a couple of places that have anything available in your price range. But modern tents are welcome. There's also a lot of people with swags, because if it's just them and if they don't know anybody, they're just going to bring a swag for themselves and sleep in that for the week, and there's no problem for that. Just in saying that, there's warband camp competitions where who can have the most thematic camp will win a prize at the end of the week. So in those cases, anything modern is tried and covered up or pushed to the back of wherever the warband is camping. So you can have, say, more themes, different thematic events when you walk into, say, somebody's camp. Say, like my warband's camp, we're the town guard. We were camped in a loose alliance called the Braylong Alliance with another warband called the Ravens, who are mercenaries, and we had all our modern tents on one entrance and our in-theme tents in another entrance. So when people walk by, they go, "Oh, these guys really know their stuff. They look cool. They're scary," and things like that. But like I said, anything, it's at a different price point. So whatever you're comfortable with is whatever you go with, and that's okay.
Oh, it's kind of interesting. So, and I don't know, I've got so many questions. It's and also it's like do you, when you have the big events and stuff, do they have like sponsorship and like small companies are sponsoring them, or that sort of stuff connected with it, or
Well, Not to my knowledge. There's no big there's no companies at all sponsoring anything. There is a running joke that our Ballarat chapter had. They had their event a couple months ago, just before the Gippsland people had their event. Anyway, there's starting to be a lot of in-character sponsorships. So the Ballarat event was sponsored by somebody who was head of the Engineers Guild, which I haven't talked about, only because I'm not really in the Engineers Guild. So I apologize for that. But those are the guys you go to make tanks, steam tanks, which there's a steam tank. There's like going to be a couple of cannons as well. Like not necessarily catapults, but what's called band guns. So if you've ever got ever shot like a rubber band off your fingers, it's exactly like that. But they make all those kind of things. Anyway, so I need to tell you this story. So there's a Melbourne warband called the Crimson Hand. They are known for getting into shenanigans. They are known for all their stories and all their role plays in the deep and dark corners of the night behind closed doors. They sent a band of warriors and merchants to Altdorf, I believe. Whatever the Ballarat chapter is called. And they decided to raise money for this one guy, the head of the engineers, to get a baronship. What ended up happening was this guy who went for the baronship ended up somehow accidentally on purpose sponsoring the whole event and the whole entire market of the 30 people that were at Ballarat, and he got no coin back from this adventure, which turned out to be a misadventure. So every event that the Crimson Hand go to, it is sponsored by Ludendorff, which is this person's name, this character's name. So there's another thing about LARP. There's all these different levels. You can come in a peasant, you can work your way up as a mercenary if you want to, or a healer, or a thief, or an assassin, or an orc, which I highly recommend, or a witch hunter, which I don't recommend. Being a mage myself, I don't recommend being a witch hunter. You can earn all this coin, you can scrape by, and you can try and be a baron. You can try and get some land from one of the 4 merchant princes we have in our world.
So there is a starting point for everyone. So you can't just like, I'm going to be a wizard or I'm going to be a thief. Like everyone's like, you all start off as peasants in a way.
You can also, it depends on the person. So if you've got no idea, start off as a peasant and then work your way into a warband that's got a theme that you like. So again, I started off as a mercenary, as a fighter in Melbourne. I moved up to Gippsland. I go, I want a new warband. What's up here? We have chaos worshippers. We're totally peasants, not chaos worshippers. We've got the town guard. We've got mages as well, and elves, and again, a couple of roaming mercenaries, because everybody loves a good mercenary warband. So there's like several of them up in Gippsland at any one time. So I decided I want my character to join a warband that had goals, that had honor, that had standing. So I joined the 1st Regiment, which is, like I said, the town guard. We keep the town safe. And I've built my character through that. So I had no intention of ever being a wizard or a mage or a healer, which in this case is the same thing. You have a staff. When somebody dies, you say a 30-second chant, and they pop up back to life. In saying that, going from a sword fighter to a healer, one of the major reasons I had to do that was because I've got some old martial arts injuries and my shoulders dislocate, which is really gross. So I can't swing a sword or hold an actual shield. I have to have a specially made shield made out of foam that I can use and wield if I want to be in the front lines. But even then it's iffy. So I decided to have my character move back from that to say she's actually put off by, not by blood, just bloodlust. She doesn't want to be in there. She doesn't care for the fight as much as she used to. She's actually going to start fixing people. So I made a healer that would use magic to heal the wounds of whoever was in front of me. And that's how my character slowly came to be a mage, a wizard, which, like I've shown before, is this costume right here. So this is my wizard costume if I ever want to do a ritual. This is I have to go on patrol because my captain told me to. Uniform.
Now, when you're not doing this, because I'm assuming that because this obviously takes up a lot of your spare time, what other hobbies do you have? Is this the main one? This is it? Or do you endeavor in anything else?
So this is my main hobby, the one that I invest all my money in that I make from being a teacher. But I do play video games as well. That's one of my major hobbies. When I'm stuck for a crafting idea, I will literally load up. I'm a big fantasy RPG player. So I like things like Elder Scrolls and Assassin's Creed, the newer Assassin's Creed. Yes, I know it's a point of contention. Relax. But I do like Valhalla, which is one of the reasons. Where did I put my axe? One of the reasons I got my axe in the first place. Because it's got wolves on it, and wolves are cool, right? And you're called the Wolf Kissed in Assassin's Creed. So I'm like, I want an axe for my LARP character. When I'm not doing swordcraft, when I'm not doing LARP, thinking of an idea for it, talking with others and making commissions and doing like team projects with others, I'm actually going to the gym or watching Netflix. So I feel like I'm a little bit of a laid back person in that way. But once I get the crafting bug, I'm gone. That's all I'm going to do for the next month is make stuff. I don't know what I'll make. I'll have no plan for what I'm making, but I will make things. Let me just show you some examples.
Yes, no, this was actually going to be my next question about. I know that you do a lot of commissions and you make a lot of these sorts of things. This was the next thing I was going to ask. So please proceed.
So there's a couple of things I've made. Some have ended up just for being for my LARP character. Others I will show you in a moment have been for others. So ignore the fact that I've got a sword belt on it. Made a furry pouch that's got a nice yellow inside to it. I use this for my money pouch. I actually probably shouldn't be saying that now that I think of it. Put that away. I don't only make things with fabric, but when I do, I try a whole bunch of things. I tried even making a reversible bag, which I've got the same yellow fabric I have and red. I actually don't know what's in this. Oh, I've got some spells in this. I reverse it. This was one of the more challenging things I made because I wanted to make a reversible bag and I wanted to see if I could, and I did, and it's most of the reasons why I craft things. Other things I've made as well are shields. This is the only shield I have on me that I've actually made. It's been repainted a couple of times. So originally it was purple because that was my first warband. Then it changed to more of a Japanese influence, and I haven't had the urge to repaint it since because it looks really, really beautiful. But yeah, this is made out of wood and dog balls, wood from Bunnings. This is some fake fur from Spotlight. There's pipe insulation and garden hose as well in this. So if you want to make a shield, shoot me a message. I'd be happy to help you learn how to make it if you wanted to. Like I've shown previously, I make armor. Just one of my favorite things to make. Let's see what else I have. I've also made a basket here. So for those of you who were paying attention earlier, here is my hat that I made. here is the crown of the hat that I've turned into a basket. Because LARPers need things to be reusable. We don't like wasting things. In saying that, I'll show you what's in the basket. As you can see by my right, I do scale nail by commission as well. These are some of the things that I make. So I've got some flowers that I make, as well as I make necklaces and earrings. So here's an example of a necklace. I do have a couple more examples of some flowers. These are just scale flowers. So if anybody wants a commission from those, happy to oblige. There are also, they're not in there. Sorry, this is the other thing about being a LARPer. Everything is everywhere. One of the other things I do make is chain bracelets as well. So here are some examples. I'm not sure if the camera can really see, but there's, yeah, there's pink and silver in that one. And here's a different one as well. So just some of the different styles of bracelets that I make. In saying that, if somebody wants to ask me to make something, like I had a friend of mine say, oh, can you make me a gorget? I go, I don't know how to make a gorget, but I was thinking of making me one. Do you want one? She goes, yeah. Then, like I guess like I've shown before, the two examples. Here's one that I've made for her, which is for her chaos character. I had no idea how to make it when I started, so I started with a pattern of a ready-made gorget that a friend of mine had. And just one last one, because I really like this one because it's special and it's for me, and I made it a different way to this one. So they're made differently. So this one was made in 2 individual pieces, as you can see here. This one that I made for my character is made out of 1 solid piece, so of fabric, and the scales, as you can see, are attached slightly differently to the other one. But that's just some of the things that I make. I will be making a whole bunch more once I have the time.
So have you always been creative? Like when you were like a youngin, you know, you were when you were very young, were you always kind of into this sort of thing, like, or is this something that's, as time has gone along, you've progressed into this? So
I always, well, from a young age, I was told I thought outside the box, but I've got no memory of that. When it started off, actually, with me just writing in high school. So I was a big writer in high school because that was my safe space. As time went on, when I went into uni and I got more into LARP and learning about reenactment, and then deciding to go and just do the live action role play stuff, creating things started to be part of improving myself for my mental health journey. So I create things, and I'm never going to lie about this. I create things because it's part of a strategy I use to win over anxiety and depression and anything like that. So
I've actually seen that, yeah, as a theme. Like there's a lot of people I've spoken to, especially in the creative space, that one, you know, it's like their mental health as well is one, because you're goal setting, you're always got plans to make something, so you've always got something to look forward to, whether it's one thing or maybe even 5 things. You're always thinking ahead, which I think for many people, when in the mental health space, is vital. Than having to worry about the unknown, with so many people don't have that creative outlet, which if they had that, it would probably make a major difference to their life, because it is goal setting, it is looking for the future, and also, you know, surrendering yourself to an interest where you can express yourself and be yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's many different projects you can see in the background, okay, and that I've shown a couple of times. When I'm working on my main character, I have a couple of different characters in LARP. So when I'm working on my main character, which is this one, which is turning out to be the wizard and all that stuff, I will make things in scale mail that will be silver or bright or colored, because or sorry, colorful, I should say. Even like this flower here. Sorry, I don't know what's going on with that one. Like kind of like this lotus thing here. I will make things small if I've been in a bit of a phase to get out of that, to help me get out of that. When I was in a deep depression and really had grief knock me for six, hit me and just keep me down, I started working on the costume for my lizardman person, which is here. That is still a long way to go because I've still got I've got a long design process, not gonna lie, and I've got no idea where to go and how to make a tail, but that's one of the main things that started me on this project here. And being creative, just because you always start a new project doesn't mean you can take some time and, you know, you can go back and finish what you've done in the past, because that gives you that sense of achievement.
It's good that you can identify, and I find that it's the same with many people that I speak to that are creative, or they're into cosplay, or you know, the various amounts of different areas like pop culture related, or even outside that yeah, this is a big thing, and it's something they have identified, and it's something that it is a something they can hold on to, that can get through. So and I've found that even talking to people during the lockdown, the ones that normally would speak about having anxiety or mental health issues, have actually kind of, a lot of them during the lockdown, actually done pretty well, because they've got their thing. It's like, oh yeah, I'm making chainmail, I'm making a Snow White outfit, I'm making this, I'm doing this. So they're used to kind of inward, support and doing that thing, while other people who don't, can, may not be recognized having a mental health issue from the past, suddenly realize, actually, no, I do have one, and I'm really challenged with what's actually happening at the moment. So, but it's good that you can speak. And I always think that's fantastic when people like yourself actually speak about it, because for so long it was seen as a taboo, and it's just a major human condition that needs to be, more recognized, and people to actually kind of see that, yeah, look, these are things. And also for yourself, it's giving others an example. It's like, well, hey, this could be for you. This is something that you may be sitting there going, oh, I don't know what, or hey, you know what, I've always kind of been interested but not sure. Well, here's someone who's actually doing it, and maybe you can go and do it. So yeah.
Because the first time I ever got into LARP, ever got into swordcraft, just in particular swordcraft, I actually went on the advice of a former partner, and he was doing his honours at the time. So he was too busy, he couldn't drive me, so I went with a friend who was also going to try it. So we drove down together. I was super nervous. I had no idea. There's a whole bunch of people, most of them were guys, and I'm just like, is this like a sausage fest? What's going to happen? I've got no idea. And then I did my new player training, and I'm like, I am Spartacus, you can't kill me. And then I died because I was an idiot. But apart from that, I the walls started coming down once I talked to people, because there's also a lot of people on the spectrum. There's a lot of people who I've said identify as non-binary and have different pronouns from how they look. So it gives them a place, a public space where they can truly be themselves. And I know I found it very hard in the past to actually be myself and to open up. And LARP has actually given me that confidence to open up. Sometimes, stuff in the real world is still scary.
Oh yeah.
So I plan for my next LARP event. I plan for my next camping trip when it comes to, if it's a week-long quest event, or I plan to help others. We also, me and a couple of my friends here, are going to be doing sewing workshops for people in Gippsland in the future. There's also leather workers I'm in contact with that have made things for me, that have gone on to have their own successful businesses because they had nothing, and then they go, I want to start something new, and it's just exploded for them.
Yeah, like it's one of the things that I'd doing these sort of activities and events for so long. It's something that I remember as a kid going, look, these things didn't even exist. You know, you were right on the fringe. Where years later, finding out even people I went to high school who were like I had it pretty good in high school, but other people that if they shared, they were interested in comics or they were interested in whatever, you know, they were kind of looked down upon. And then years later, finding out the ones who were a bit like the oppressors or the bullies secretly have these massive rooms dedicated to Batman and Star Wars and stuff, and then speaking to their wives and their or partners, and they're going, oh no, apparently they've always been like into this since. I'm like, oh, so they were hiding as well, and there was a lot more of them out there. But yeah, the whole thing with doing these sorts of things is it's giving people ideas for outlets that you can do, and then you know, you don't have to be alone or feel like you're on the fringe, you know, looking in. So yeah, it still happens now. Like I still get, you know, where I you know, do some work and that people are kind of see me in a certain sort of way, or oh this. I'm like, yeah, okay. But then everyone else actually kind of sees me. Well, that's Andrew. Andrew does that thing, and if you're interested in that thing, go for it. And I've seen a lot of actually employees all suddenly come out of the woodwork saying, oh yeah, I'm a cosplayer and I'm this and I'm this, and like the next minute they're involved, which I think is fantastic. I did a thing a few years ago that one of our kind of managers, she made us all us staff grow beards because she wanted us to be Jedis for the TGF event that year, and she went and she got, you know, all Jedi Knight outfits. And so we all grew beards, and we all got a Jedi Knight outfit each that she bought online. And it was a pretty good outfit. And so I thought, well, the day I arrived, I'm going to wear that to class. So I went into class, I was teaching, and no one blinked. They was like, oh. And then I thought, you know what, I'm going to walk over to the main shopping center and see what happens. No one said anything. I was like kind of a little bit disappointed, but no one said anything. It was like, oh yeah, there's a guy dressed like a Jedi. And but I came back to class, and but I've had students who've like, they'd bring in, you know, things they've made or their own costumes and things like that, and they've put them on. And I'll say to the class, going, hey, look at this. They just got dressed up as this character, or, you know, from this game or whatever. And no one has said anything. And most of the students will say, well, yeah, because we kind of feel like we can do that here. It's kind of, it's a, you know, you're one of us sort of thing. So, and that's one of the great things about teaching games development or even technology. There's more people who are interested in that sort of thing. And for new students, sometimes it takes them a little bit just to kind of relax. And then when they're in it, it's like, oh, well, yeah, this is how it should be.
Yeah, I just want to say I've gone out in a similar black and white LARP top and pants, pretty much full get up minus the weapons because they're in the car. And I've gone to the shops. I've had lunch with my partner and my friends and a whole bunch of things like that in Traralgon, which yes is regional Victoria, and you wouldn't think there's anything like that up here, but there is. And what's even funnier is I've seen people I've worked with go, Acacia? Is that, what are you wearing? I go, I'm wearing my battle outfit, thank you very much. I've got a fight in like 5 minutes after I leave here, so if you'll excuse me, ma'am. And I've walked off with, you know, with like Gatorade bottles and chocolates and whatever else I need for me and my team, and I've gone back to my car in this getup. It's been really funny.
But I had this is probably 6-7 years ago. I was just walking through my local Target, and suddenly Master Chief is just walking down through the clothes section, and I thought, oh, is there a new Halo game or promo that I've just missed? What's going on? And I walked up to him and went, how you doing? And they go, great. I said, oh, nice outfit. And they go, yeah. And I said, oh, you here for a promotion? He's like, no, I just finished this. I just wanted to test it out. So he was dressed as Master Chief, and it looked like Master Chief. It was like spot on. And yeah, he's just walking around in it. And I was like, I took a photo of him. He's doing the kind of peace signs. And yeah, I think he had a few looks like people were like, what's that? And all the kids, of course, thought he was the greatest thing on earth walking through,
Yeah.
but he was like, no, I'm going to test it out. But that was similar when, yeah, I was a little kid growing up in rural New South Wales. I remember going to the only shop, kind of, you know, we're in a place where you blink and you'd miss it. And one of the guys, the owners, had big curly hair. So he kind of looked like Tom Baker, Doctor Who. And so he had all the scarves and the coats, and his business partner had this outfit with the, this shows you how long ago, he had one of those hats with the red wings on it, and he made this backpack with an R2D2 in it and that sort of thing. So he was like this created character. We all turned up and we were like, oh, Doctor Who and this other character here. We thought they were gods. We were like, where are they? We're in the middle of like nowhere. And here's the two shop owners addressed as Doctor Who and some sort of Atari space cadet sort of thing. And we thought, that is absolutely amazing. But it was years later that, you know, did I see that again. All right, well, we might leave it there. For everyone who's watching this during the live stream on Twitch, we'll be making all the social media accounts associated with her work available, so you can pop that. But if you're watching this through the Cause and Effect Gamers YouTube channel, many moons later, we will have all of her social media and where to get commissions done and all that sort of stuff down below. So on behalf of TGF and Cause and Effect Gamers, thank you for sharing this interesting conversation. It's actually been fascinating.
Thank you for having me, Andrew, and I hope everything goes well. So hit me up, guys. It'll be awesome.
Great. Fantastic. Thank you.